Daisy closed the thick binder that lay on the desk before her. Random scraps of paper and sticky notes jutted out of its edges, and it was clear it was close to overflowing. "So, that's the rulebook you made?" she asked. I nodded. "It's everything I've learned while working here." She gave me a smile as she said, "You seem like a very organized person." I shrugged. "Well, all I really did was color code everything to know what to avoid. So, like 80% color coding, 20% luck, and 0% skill or mental stability." "Well, I think it's brilliant," she said with a smile. It was the first genuine smile I had seen her give since she's been here. I couldn't help but smile back, making her look away. Her cheeks reddened a bit as she cleared her throat. "Could you show me how to decipher the inventory books? It doesn't make any sense to me." "Oh, yeah," I said, ignoring the awkwardness in her voice. "The shelves actually handle those, and they don't speak fluent English. I'll show you the dictionary we use to translate. It's honestly not that hard to learn, though." I typed the name of the dictionary into the search bar of our office computer, but I could still feel her staring at me. I locked eyes with her once more, and she was smiling again. "You have nice eyes," she said. Now it was my turn for a blush to creep onto my cheeks. We're still dating." "Shit," I said while jumping. Lacey was scowling at us from the doorway with her arms crossed. "You scared the hell out of me." "That doesn't mean his eyes aren't nice," snapped back Daisy. Lacey ignored her, placed some paperwork on the desk beside the keyboard, and walked out. I could practically see steam billowing out of her ears as she did, but I said nothing. Things were still kind of awkward between us. "Could I talk to you for a second about some logistics issues?" Daisy asked. "Sure," I responded. "The frozen turkeys are on the loose," she stated. "Tell the wizard." She nodded. "The drink fountains in the witch's brew are dispensing blood. Make it a new menu item. A customer named Arnold has stolen several rubber chickens and hidden somewhere in the store. He does that every Tuesday. I've been meaning to ask Gabe to handle all the shoplifting because he says he can stay undetected." "I'll let him know," she said while jotting it down on her clipboard. "The vending machine is eating people's hands?" I shrugged. "Well, let it eat till it's full." "Mora has talked the shelves into not listening to me." Her voice had taken on a strange, blank tone that made me pause my task. The second I locked eyes with her, an intense anger bubbled up within me. "We'll have to do something about that," I said, as I shoved my chair nearly back into the wall to stand up. I exited the office and marched in the direction of the closest shelf. Finding the cause of this anger was in the back of my mind at that moment, as the shelves, specifically aisle 8, had my undivided attention. "Hey man," said Acid Dude as a greeting. I heard another voice, but I paid both of them no mind. I aimed an accusatory finger in the direction of aisle 8 and kept on trucking. "Look here, you rusted, secondhand fine piece of..." My breath caught in my throat as an intense chill overcame my body. I let out a gasp before toppling to the floor. "What the hell, man?" yelled that same voice. The anger-fueled tunnel vision had left, and I realized that Gabe was the voice screaming at me. "You walked right through me." "What?" I asked. I couldn't stop shivering, even though the cold sensation had disappeared. "You were inside me," clarified Gabe. Daisy scurried back into my field of vision, causing that same fiery hot anger to come back. "Well, move the hell out of the way then," I yelled. I tried to get back up, but he wouldn't let me. He looked absolutely baffled as he fought to keep me down. Daisy attempted to help me, but Acid Dude started slapping her hands away while yelling, "Viper, no swiping!" "Stay away from him," Gabe yelled, as he began to drag me away from Daisy. Without thinking, he wrapped me up in a bear hug, and that same icy cold chill came back. My fight-or-flight response was worn out by this point. The last thing I remember before passing out was Gabe saying, "Oops." "Sup, guys? Gabe here with another stellar Charlie's entry from beyond the grave. Well, actually, from beyond the hellacious realm of retail. One plus side of my paranormalcy is that I'm extra stealthy. I'm like a see-through ninja. That's why I wasn't shocked when Daisy pulled me aside to offer me a Gabe-specific role. She said Ursula had noticed my ninja-like qualities and decided to give me a specific job: theft detection. I didn't expect my first theft buster shift to be fruitful, but I spotted someone acting suspiciously in 5 minutes or less. I started trailing her as she made her way through the store. She took her dear sweet time in the beauty section, spritzing perfume on her wrists, throat, behind her ears. She made a pit stop at the lip glosses, tucking 2 in her pocket before whipping around to sniff our lotion options. I let her get a few good whiffs in before I phased into sight. I cleared my throat to alert her of my presence, which made her drop 2 bath bombs. We watched them roll under the shelves before she made eye contact with me, and I gasped before I could stop myself. Her cheeks were plump and, bumpy. "Are you okay, ma'am?" I asked with genuine concern. 3 bottles of nail polish tumbled out of her mouth as she responded. "Yeah." I could tell by her speaking that her mouth was still very full. The bottles cracked when they hit the floor, and their 3 different shades of pink began spreading across the tiles. I didn't know what to do, so I just nodded nervously. I hadn't even expected to get this far so soon. The woman continued her theft spree as if I hadn't seen her. Honestly, I wanted to pretend like I hadn't seen her. Whatever was happening was traumatizing enough to watch, and I didn't really want to see what else she had in her mouth. However, I also didn't want to take the chance of Ursula firing me over not reporting the theft. Pretty sure she would have my spirit banished from the store, and I'm kind of scared to find out what's after this dude. I was an asshole. So, I chose to follow the woman, and boy, was it a wild ride. I didn't know a mouth could fit so much. She looked so human, but there's no way she was. A human mouth cannot fit a 10-ounce bottle of lotion, 3 oranges, and a 4x7 picture frame, a 12-pack of canned sodas, a porcelain doll, 2 medium-sized, floor-length floral print dresses, bottle of cologne, and an unknown number of nail polish bottles in their mouth. Well, at least not comfortably. And that's only the stuff I actually saw her put in there. I couldn't get past the soggy dresses either. Probably the most shocking thing about this whole encounter was what happened at the end, though. A few more minutes into me following her around, her eyes lit up like July 4th fireworks. She quickly unzipped her purse, opened her practically overflowing mouth, and let the contents tumble into the bag. She picked a lipstick out of the slobbery hoard and applied the plum shade to her lips. She plumped her hair a bit before I noticed the reason for her dolling up. Gary. Gary has a girlfriend? I couldn't help but say. Gary began to trip over his words as he walked toward us. Gary. You never told us, Garster. The lady gave him a huge grin. A small streak of plum could be seen on her right front tooth. I got you a present, honey. She whipped the cologne bottle out of her bag, making my eyes narrow and Gary's widen, both surprised in our own way. Gary loves it, he exclaimed. You gotta pay for that, I said, which got me a scowl from her. I was planning to, she snapped. All of it? I asked. She gave me an intimidating look, but I stood my ground. She may have been wearing a gaudy, bright pink dress with some red heels, but this was not a video game. I would not be another thing she inhaled in her gaping maw. Mary has stealing problem, but Mary's still nice, Gary said while giving me a nervous smile. Gary want friends to like her. I gave him a reassuring nod. I'm sure we will, buddy. He nodded back at me. Gary has to get going, he said, before giving her plum lips a kiss and heading off towards the deli. I'm gonna marry him one day, she told me, before spitting out a huge 10-carat gold ring and showing it to me. I nodded. Just make sure you swallow your wedding decorations at another department store, please. I personally escorted Mary to checkout, but I did let her use my store discount. I pointed out who everyone was, but I didn't introduce her. I think my introduction wasn't exactly according to Gary's plan today, and I'm sure he'll let her meet everyone in due time. I'm kind of intrigued to see what she'll have stolen next time. I wonder if she could fit a full wedding gown in there. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but the shelves have this ability to stock themselves. However, and don't tell them I told you guys this, Since the store expanded and we've gained more customers, it's been hard for them to keep up with the demand. Due to this, Ursula hired overnight stalkers. They've done a wonderful job keeping up with the demand, and though they'd never admit it, the shelves were grateful. Overnights were rather strange here at Charlie's. Luckily, I never had to deal with them. Our less fortunate and, frankly, trapped, Gabe, workers weren't as lucky. But one night, Lacey also had some bad luck. We were seriously understaffed during some holiday that I don't even remember. They all kind of run together. Anyways, we had a huge sale the next day, so Lacey came in to help. Plus, she wanted a little overtime money. We were planning on finding our own place back then. Now, I'm not so sure. Here's Lacey, though.
Lacey, you're needed in the hygiene section,
said a monotone voice over the intercom. I sighed as I stood up from the floor, dusted off my bell-bottom jeans, and headed in that direction. When I made it, the first thing I saw was 2 overnight stalkers on the shampoo aisle. They worked in methodical silence, quickly putting items away in their respective places. Each had their own cart, and both carts were organized in a certain way that went way over my head. What confused me was that they would periodically swap carts and work whatever was on them as if they were their own carts. How they knew what was what also went over my head. And then, I saw one hold up a box to the other before quickly putting it back down. No speaking occurred, yet it felt like communication had happened. And then they swapped carts again, not even skipping a beat. Freaky, I thought. What's freaky is you stopping to stare at us, they both said simultaneously. They didn't even look up from their carts. They just kept operating like a well-oiled machine. Did you guys need my help with anything? This made them both stop, and they both placed the box they were holding onto opposite hips. One put hers on her left hip and the other on her right. No, we just called you over here to gawk at us, they said, their voices dripping with sarcasm. We need you to unlock the cases so we can put away the products that go in them, explained one. Apparently, they find us more likely to steal condoms and potions than you, so we don't get our own sets of keys, said the other. They have potions over here? I asked. Just the essence of life, they responded in unison. The essence of life? I repeated. They each held up identical oval-shaped bottles. I couldn't tell if they were actually dingy or just made to look unnecessarily ominous. Along with its neon purple glow, it contained spirals of smoky beings that float around in their glass confines. Each of them had hauntingly deep-set eye sockets and gaping voids for mouths. Their expressions were hungry, longing, and agony-filled. If I could have heard them, I knew they'd be moaning. The bottles freaked me out, so I unlocked the case as quickly as possible. As the glass door opened, a cold breeze escaped it, sending shivers across my body. I could hear the workers snickering behind me, murmuring things that were clearly how they felt about me, and it pissed me off. Before leaving, I noticed there were 3 large pallets left. Chop chop, I ordered. You guys have a lot left to stock, so speed it up. The worker. Hold up, Lacey wouldn't say that, said Jamie, Lacey's actress. I agree with Jamie, said Janet, the actress behind Cheryl. Lacey is too much of a sweetheart. But this is a flashback, remember? Everyone's actions are being affected by the... began Archer, before a look of worry came over his face. He locked eyes with the security camera in the corner of the room and mouthed, Sorry, Ash. Janet shook her head at him, as if pitying a child who didn't know better. How ironic. By the way, Jan, where's Chip? Jamie asked. Janet's eyes went wide. I forgot to take him off his charging dock for the meeting. She hurried off to go fetch him, leaving the others behind. Archer tisked at her departure, and Jamie gave their dislike for each other an annoyed sigh. Anyways, when she gets back, we can discuss the elephant in the room, she said. Archer assumed she meant he and Janet's ongoing kerfuffle, which made him raise his eyebrows and nod his head in the direction she had gone. Jamie waved a dismissive hand. You two need to get over yourself. I'm talking about the next chapter. She held up the script so he could see. The title of the next chapter read, Chip Jr. teaches the shape-shifting daycare kids Kung Fu. Does Ash not realize the amount of training it'll take that little dude to even fake being a Kung Fu artist? I mean, does she even think about... Archer sighed as he phased out Jamie's rants, and he gave the security camera a knowing wink. I shot upwards so quickly that the office chair fell backwards. The several handmade by Cheryl quilts covering me cushioned my fall, but not by much. My hand shot up to cover the painfully bright fluorescent lights, and Ursula came into focus. Oops, she said after I landed, placing the end of her walking stick back on the floor. She had whacked it so hard it looked dented. My obvious pain didn't faze her. Jared, darling, could you let everyone know we're about to have a mandatory meeting? I grumbled something close to sure before relaying the message over our radios. Well, in my sleepy days, I tried to relay it over the computer's mouse at first, but the second time was the charm. She huddled us into the break room, and the tension was so thick Gary could have cut it up for his daily special. If the meeting wasn't mandatory, I would have walked out again. I already got lectured for walking out of the last one, but who cared? Hi, my little daffodil, Ursula told her daughter in a sing-song voice. Actually, her name's Daisy, said Cheryl in her usual state of oblivion. Ursula picked up a magazine off one of the break tables, rolled it up, and swatted Cheryl's head with it. Bad girl, you only speak when spoken to. She swatted her again for good measure, and Cheryl's brows knitted together in sorrow. Ursula seemed satisfied, so she placed the magazine back where she had gotten it from before making her way to the front of the room. She cleared her throat. Okay, let's begin. I know you guys have become a mishmash of components due to a lack of proper management, Ursula began. Cheryl whooped. It was ignored. You all have really shown resistance and courage through all obstacles, big or small, and I find that astonishing. I hope to incorporate that bravado in future stores. One day, there will be a Charlie's in every town, and someday, every country. Yay! Cheered Cheryl. I want to go to Cancun. Ursula scowled at her, so Cheryl slouched in her seat as if awaiting another scolding. However, after a moment, Ursula's smile returned. It gave me the impression that she felt Cheryl was now a well-trained dog. There's only one thing we need to accomplish to initiate this takeover, she continued. It seems the future of corporations within our world lies within technology, something that Charlie's has been lacking in. I have also noticed a major struggle in the ability of Charlie's employees to stay alive. While you bunch have stayed alive and have even managed to reanimate. Her eyes landed on Gabe, giving him a strange look. Many deaths still happen on the property. They're just never brought up or acknowledged for some weird reason. In fact, you bunch are the only ones with employment records. Like, you're the only ones that matter or something. I mean, even the gnome has a file. There were a few moments of awkward silence before she continued. Anyways, with all of that being considered, we've decided to switch our current method of operations to a more technologically friendly route. Can you cut the filler and just say it? Said Lacey. Ursula made a point to scowl at her for a few seconds before responding. Yes, I was getting to that, she said before clearing her throat again. Keep in mind that I say this with immense sadness in my heart. She paused to give a dramatic sigh. Except for Chip and Gabe, you are all fired. Lacey sat up straight in her chair. Excuse me? Chip will get to stay because of his technological strengths. He will be a great asset for Charlie's, explained Ursula. And Gabe will stay because he seems invincible to this place, which might come in handy. But no one else gets to stay? Asked Cheryl. Actually, began Daisy as she looked up from her clipboard, I was hoping Jared would stay. She gave me a smile. The offer is most definitely on the table if you'd want to take it. Lacey stood up from her chair so fast that it clattered backward. This blood-sucking bitch is not going to take my boyfriend. My eyes widened. What the hell has gotten into you? I yelled at Lacey. How do you not see what they're doing to us? She said, fanning her arms outward to indicate everything around us. They're leeches. Daisy softly shook her head. Who was leeching on who? When you put us down as a reference on a job application, I figured you would be jumping at the opportunity to leave. Lacey's mouth dropped open in shock before she lunged at Daisy. Daisy flinched, but she was spared by Gary, who dragged Lacey away, kicking and screaming. Lots of profanities and possibly even incoherent spells could be heard trailing off through the building as she was brought outside. Gabe followed behind them, exiting the room with a shake of his head. So much was going on that it was hard to process it all. I chose what I felt was the most concerning thought. She applied somewhere else? Daisy nodded. To 3 places, actually. I nodded, paused for a moment, then asked, Why me? I'm not very good at interacting with people, she explained. But you know this place, and its people inside and out. She was right. I've been here so long, it's like Charlie's is second nature for me. I had given it my all for several years, and couldn't imagine my life without it. And, as far as I could tell, Charlie's was the only thing I could rely on to stay. Yes, I said finally. So, how often do you do this? I said mid-munch on my cheesy crackers. I offered her the snack box as a reflex before I remembered who I was talking to. She ignored the gesture. Normally only at night, but it got pretty boring after a while, she explained. I wanted to explore during the day while the store was open, but the other mannequins told me it was a bad idea. She was wearing a bright pink floral dress, one of the latest releases for our spring line. Her stark white features were just as I remembered, though. How many others are there? She shrugged, her plastic joints making a clicking noise. Maybe like 8? It's hard to tell who's sentient and who's just afraid to get caught. And they told you not to do it? The concept of these mannequins having something within them, which was powerful enough to determine right and wrong, was fascinating to me. Yeah, they were all like, what if someone sees you? And I was like, we literally live in a grocery store for like vampires and werewolves and stuff. I saw a demon wearing a sombrero last week. Like, come on, guys, lighten up. How would a mannequin walking around be weird? Oh, I simply responded. Really, I didn't need to respond. She was a chatty Cathy, and would continue even if I didn't speak. Yeah, I think some of them are just afraid of getting dismantled. I waved a hand, brushing that idea off. We'd never do that. I'm unsure how I could tell, but she furrowed her brow at me before speaking again. Are you sure about that? Things are kind of tense around here. What's going on with you guys anyways? I shrugged and swallowed my crackers before explaining. Ursula decided to fire everyone, so shit kind of hit the fan. She gasped. Well, that's a good reason for shit to hit the fan. I nodded. Yeah, it was a colossal shit. There was a moment of silence before she spoke again. So, what are you gonna do? What do you mean? Well, Charlie's can't stay this way, she explained. This place isn't the same without you guys. You're like the dream team. You keep this place running, and you guys working together have made it the best it's ever been. There's a reason you were all brought here. I scoffed. What, like destiny? She shrugged, clicking again. Something like that. Well, thanks, I said, while nervously rubbing the back of my neck. How long have you been here exactly? You don't want to know, she said, with a tone that told me she would roll her eyes if she had any. But I've been to a lot of stores, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. Charlie's is definitely one of the good ones. Wow, I said, with genuine shock. It was hard to believe her words after all I had seen here. But they also helped me understand why you guys might enjoy our chaotic tales. Marique saw this hellhole in a new light, and I pondered that while snacking. Not only did I owe it to Lacey, Gary, Cheryl, and Chip, but I owed it to you guys to save Charlie's. That's when the veil came down. Or the rose-tinted glasses, if you will. The funky vibe I had felt since Daisy and Ursula got here just lifted. I could finally see what I needed to do. But first, snack break. What other stores have you been to? I asked Marique. Probably the worst one was that adult store. Oh, I said again, as my cheeks reddened. You will not believe some of the things you people do. You don't have to go into detail if you... She directed my attention to her foot with one bored straight arm. This is my second set of feet. The first got stolen. Alrighty then, I said, standing up. I have to finish closing the store, so, you can keep the snacks. I'll talk to you later. But wait, she began. You haven't heard what happened to my old friend Tommy's head. Having already begun to walk off, my only response was, Bye, Marique. Hello, it's Cheryl. I have another joke for you guys. Why should you never trust stairs? Because they always let you down. I never thought I'd say this, but Jared is a lot like stairs. Well, bye guys. I hope we see you again soon. Alright, hope you guys all enjoyed the newest edition of Charlie's Department Store. This whole series was written by an amazing writer named thatreallyshortchick on Reddit. So I hope you all will check out the link below and check out their profile on Reddit. Also, they wanted me to let you know that there's a Charlie's Department Store book coming out in the near future. So keep an eye on the channel for that. I'll have more news coming up on the channel with upcoming installments of Charlie's. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great night. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.